it's better to take 2 years to get something and keep it for life than to take 6 months to get something and lose it. So the pattern that we want people is this: every time I give Taylor's company money, I get something greater in return. As long as that flywheel builds, then people will just always give you more money.
Something that you mentioned that was kind of interesting was economic uncertainty. Where do you feel like businesses really need to be putting their effort and energy right now during these times where things are a little bit more uncertain?
The way to think about a recession is like, you will survive unless you die. So then the only thing we have to focus on is how to not die.
I think a lot of people were inspired with what you guys did at Traffic and Funnels. From the outside, it seemed like it was the business that people were chasing. Almost everything just kind of stopped and fell off the face of the map. Is there anything that you would have changed?
Yes, lots of things. You want me to clap?
I love it.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
All right.
Taylor, man, thank you for having me. For those of you that are coming back into Daily Ops Boost, we took a little hiatus over the last couple months, just because the business was moving in different directions. And so I wanted to launch back with Daily Ops Boost in a really fun fashion. And who better than to have Taylor Welch on the podcast?
Taylor Welch, the not ops boost.
the not ops boost.
The opposite
legend.
of ops.
But I thought it'd be really fun to just get some energy back into the podcast and have some more interviews with people that are doing really cool things in our space. And Taylor, you've been someone that I've looked up to in my consulting career as I got into it. You were the first mastermind that I actually bought in my consulting career. Yeah. So in first mastermind I ever bought. So that was a really cool transition for me, and I thought it would be just a really cool moment to have a podcast with you and not necessarily talk about operations, but talk about business more in general. I think your audience follows you pretty closely. And I say that because I follow you closely and I watch just the changes and the things that have happened over the last couple of years for you. There's been a lot of changes. There's been a lot of things that have shifted for you.
Oh, yeah.
I guess with those shifts, I guess your mentality for business is different than it was 2 years ago, hands down. Like, I've watched the message change. What's kind of been the biggest message change for you over the last few years of how you do business?
The thing you get is less important than can you keep it and how did you get it. So when I first started, I was so obsessed with like hitting new levels because in my mind, I viewed hitting new levels as security. Because when I was poor, didn't have anything, and I was married, and I remember literally asking my father-in-law, like, do I have your blessing to marry your daughter? And the conversation was really weird because I was super broke and he knew it. So he was kind of like, I mean, not really, but you're probably going to do it anyways. And for me, I was like, I don't know how deep you want to go into this, but like when people go through trauma, they create these inner vows. Abraham Lincoln one time was trying to grow his law practice, and he went to Ohio to show up for a court hearing. And the attorneys that had hired him had cut him out but didn't tell him. So he showed up to Ohio. He went through the hassle of getting there, and they made fun of him. We're like, why are you even here? And he never went back to Ohio. Like he avoided it. Like he couldn't even go back to the city that he was in for that hearing. It's like human beings are notorious for this. We create these inner vows because we go through something so traumatic that we're like, I can never be in that place again. Sometimes this is healthy in that it's like, I will never put my family at risk here again. But that's great vow to have, like, do that.
Yeah.
But for me, the statement that I made to myself was, never again will I not be able to have the things that I deeply crave.
Yeah.
Because I'm so broke. And what that turned into was a bit of an untamed monster. Because, and it was, as you're familiar, it was a hydra monster. I could not get rid of it because no matter what happened, money was always the solution.
Yeah.
And if I want to solve a problem, I need more money. If I want to feel better about myself, I need more money. If I want to be more respected amongst my peers, I need more money. And so no matter what zone of life you went into, I was like, the answer is always growth. And now having 2 kids, having kind of been through the ringer a little bit, having had record great months and record bad months and everything in between, I'm like, okay, before I tackle a new level, let's make sure I can keep it once I get it. Because it's better to take 2 years to get something and keep it for life than to take 6 months to get something and lose it.
Yeah.
It's a very different type of operating.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I feel like the biggest thing that I've seen from an outside perspective, the speed of the game has changed drastically for you. The speed that you're going at, it seems way more measured. It's way more retention focused. It's way more, how can we deliver the value and make sure we can keep people long term versus high volume, high revenue growth, limited profit. Like even now you talk more about profit than ever. I guess, where did a lot of that mind shift kind of start taking place for you?
Well, when you do all of the work to acquire deals in business and sign new business, it really hurts when you can't hang on to it because you only put your effort into the acquisition piece. So, like, you know, traffic and funnels, we had 2,000 clients, not customers, clients. We're running about 100 a month for about a year and a half. We had 3,000 clients for a sales mentor. Then intelligent advertisers started picking up. So it's like you look back and it's like we've done. I had this moment of realization. I think it was like the beginning of, or maybe middle of 2021. I was like, I've had more clients than most people ever have in customers. Like I have more clients than most people have in leads. And it's just a merry-go-round of like people are here, then they're somewhere else. Something like there's a hole in the bucket. So I'm like, I'm not going to do all of the work to get the business if the business then just leaves. And to be honest, it hit me way deeper than just like focusing on like the deliverables and the experience. It actually changed my whole view of models. So like from a business model standpoint, the whole like run a call funnel, grab clients, turn and burn, I hate that shit now. Like I won't do it. Because I'm not going to invest the resources into just a very quick hit of cocaine called a P&L. Like, that's awful. What I want is like a durable, lasting asset that doesn't ever dry up.
Yeah.
So to do that, you have to get into brands. You have to have branding. Well, to have a good brand, you can't have clients hate you after they give you money. So it's like, and I'm not saying that was like all of traffic and funnels because it wasn't. But there were definitely key areas where it's like, we are too busy acquiring new business that we can't take time keeping new business. So we have like, we're printing hats and shirts and hoodies right now that say, keeping clients is better than getting clients.
I love that.
And now people that are sophisticated like you are like, oh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And the people at the beginning are like, what? I don't understand that. You know, and so it's like literally a market sophistication thing as well. Like, how do we grow up and sophisticate the market? Because client acquisition, which is like one of our main pedigrees, like client acquisition funnels, feeder funnels, like we just flooded the zone with that. So now it's like, okay, what's the point of client acquisition? If you can't keep them, don't acquire them.
Yeah. Well, even the messaging that we're seeing on social media nowadays, it's all very lead generation focused. It's all about acquiring new clients. Like that's the problem that everyone feels like they need to solve. People even like Hormozy coming out with $100 million leads, $100 million offers. It's all focused on the ability to acquire clients. Do you feel like we're going to see kind of the shift or swing back the other direction?
No.
No? Why not?
So I think human nature is what it is. And I think that there will always be low-hanging fruit and like the make money, like get clients, business in a box. Like there's always going to be low-hanging fruit that marketers will capitalize on. And then there's always going to be, referencing Hormozy again, the game behind the game.
Yeah.
Which is like, okay, let's build a real business here. And so what Hormozy does really well is he's got like, if you sit down and talk with him, he's got the same ethos on acquisition on the back, but he understands attention on the front. So he knows that there's low-hanging fruit there.
Sure.
Like we do have products right now that are focused on client acquisition. The key though is like, I am so good at acquisition that I will flood everyone with shit.
Yeah.
And then it's like when we're doing 3,000 customers a month right now, and I'm not even focused on acquisition.
Yeah.
I'm focused on like retention. We can't help it. Like if you see our promo, we sell them out in 24 hours. Every time we put something in the market, it sells out. There's just something unique. Like everyone has a competitive advantage. One of our competitive advantages is acquisition. And I think because of that, I've been burned by the acquisition. And so now I'm like, yo, hold on. Make sure that the bucket you put people into is dependable and defensible and sustainable. I don't necessarily think we'll have a swing back though, because I think human nature is always obsessed with the front end.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess like with the swing going so heavy into lead generation, there's probably a little bit of a lack of trust that's going to enter into the marketplace, especially with people that are going to be burnt with things that either don't deliver a result or don't fix the main problem in the first place. How are you kind of seeing your ability to create trust as being someone that is so known for lead flow, acquisition, sales, and building trust with an audience where it's like, hey, we're moving into more stabilization, into more profitability? Like, how are you building that trust with your prospects? Team, real quick, if you're on ClickUp, you're going to want to download this client management template pack, especially if you run an agency. I'm going to leave it in the show notes for you. It's 100% free. Go click the link and download the template pack.
There's a lot of production that we do for content, so we give a lot of stuff away for free. But we, more so than that, we're actually pumping out a lot of products that are cheap. So especially right now, like we're in a recession, government's lying about it, nobody knows what's going on, but we're in a recession for sure. So money's tighter, people are starting to feel it, velocity slows down, and the access to money is lower. So in a recession environment especially, trust becomes even more important. And so what we're doing is we're fractionalizing the value proposition. So to create more trust, you have to give people more things to buy that can teach them a pattern. So the pattern that we want people is this: every time I give Taylor's company money, I get something greater in return. It's a profitable investment for me. If I give you $10, you give me $100,000 worth of value. Awesome. As long as that flywheel builds, then people will just always give you more money. Because every time they give you money, they get something more than the money they put in. The problem with everything being free though is you have no transaction, and so there's no pattern. So when it comes time to ask somebody for money, they have no pattern. It's like you're giving them everything for free. Like, wow, I love this person. I really love this person. Oh my God, they're so amazing. Then it comes time to give them $20,000. They have no background to go off of. From an instinct level, there's no muscle memory there. So what you want to do is you want to pump out more products, because then you build muscle memory in the market. Buy a $20 memo, fantastic. Buy a $100 course, fantastic. Buy a $1,000 course, fantastic. $6,000 event, fantastic. By the time it's like, yo, to work with us one-on-one is a couple $100,000. They're like, well, muscle memory is there and it worked well, so here's a couple $100,000.
Yeah.
That is a massive, massive medium for building trust. You have to get the completion of the cycle. There has to be money exchanged, not just attention, but money. Does that answer that question?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it kind of reminds me. I was talking with my business partner about he's doing Muay Thai currently.
Nice.
And so talk about like callousing the fronts of the shins in order to be able to kind of build that resistance. It kind of reminds me of that analogy. Of, okay,
100%.
We're building some of that resistance in order to have the bigger ask down the road, so you can kick at full power without it hurting.
Right? 100%.
Love that.
Yeah.
Something that you mentioned that was kind of interesting was economic uncertainty. Where do you feel like businesses really need to be putting their effort and energy right now during these times where things are a little bit more uncertain?
I mean, it's a great time for people to invest in their thinking, the way they think, because everyone survives these moments unless you die, which is about as simple as you can make it. So take it all the way down to the studs. You will survive unless you die.
That's true.
Okay, so why is that important? Like, why are we laughing? Because it's basic. It's like saying, like every once in a while I'll go on Twitter and I'll tweet this thing that I just keep reusing. I'm like, if you want to know how to never quit again, right before you quit, don't. And people all the time lose their minds. They're like, oh, what did I ever think about that? And some people are like, oh, that really makes sense. That's great. It's just first principles. Bring it down as low as you can go. The way to think about a recession is like, you will survive unless you die. So then the only thing we have to focus on is how to not die. And most of the time what that looks like is you have to really focus on cash flow, not profit, cash flow. It's different. You have to focus on your own thinking. The fastest path to destruction is a mismanagement of thinking. That's the fastest path by far. If you think that you're going to die, you die automatically. And so I think right now is like what I do in moments like this or in seasons like this is I get super paranoid almost of my thinking, like my thoughts. Like everything around me becomes very pristine. Like there's zero negativity, there's zero fear, there's zero, none of that's allowed. I've got to incubate my thinking, because if I become negative or if I become pessimistic inside of a season where things are tight, then I'll warp my behavior around that. And this is like, I don't know if you're coming next week, but we're doing this training on Friday about belief architecture. You can program yourself to believe certain things. And so somebody on one of the client calls yesterday, they said, hiring a marketer is really difficult. And everyone was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Hiring marketers is difficult. But I actually took that and I was like, let's use this as an example for belief architecture. What's the utility of thinking that marketers are hard to hire? Zero. It doesn't help you. And so that would be, deprogram that belief because it's not helpful. It doesn't actually matter whether something is true or false. It matters whether something is useful or not. And so right now I'm very, like, my recommendation is like, judge something not by its merit, but by its usefulness. Which means that if you have somebody saying something online that makes you feel scared, you just unfollow them. If you have things in your life that make you feel nervous, you should probably unfollow. And really clean that environment, because it all starts in the mind.
Yeah.
If you survive, you survive.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, for sure. And kind of like spinning off the mindset side of things, you're bringing back daily mind medicine.
We're doing it.
Let's go. That's super exciting. Actually, one of the first podcasts that I started listening to was daily mind medicine, and I remember just playing it on repeat on my way to the gym. Why did it stop in the first place?
So it was a lot of work.
Yeah, it is.
Because you have a daily podcast.
Yep.
And I was doing it for so we started Daily Mind Medicine the first time in March of 2020. Do you remember what happened in March of 2020?
COVID.
Yeah, COVID hit.
Yeah.
It was like, wow, this is like God timing. This is crazy. And we were consistent, and I knew I was called to it, so I just kept doing it. And it became difficult because it's a daily podcast, and this was in 2020, so I was still cutting my teeth on what is my philosophy, how do I view the world. I had reached a level of success that, to be honest, outpaced my feeling of deservedness for that success. Like I'd sort of raced to this destination. And so what I really think happened, and the real reason it stopped, is my life got so complicated. I don't know if you follow a guy named Shane Parrish.
I don't.
So he runs the Knowledge Project, Farnham Street. This is one of his projects.
Okay.
He just wrote a book called Clear Thinking. He's worth a follow on Twitter.
Okay.
And he talks about the surface area of your life. So he says if people would be happier if they tended to the surface area of their life and trying to keep the surface area small. And the idea is like, I have billionaire friends that have like 2 houses. They don't have 1 million houses, because every house you add, you've got to have a staff and maintenance and clean it. And so people think that wealth equates to having more stuff, but wealth really equates to more control over your time. So keeping the surface area small. I violated that rule, and my life became extremely complicated. We had hundreds of houses all over the place. I had 4 businesses, 200 staff. I could barely show up. Like, you remember this because you were in the career. Like, I showing up, I would speak for an hour and then leave. Like, I wasn't fully invested. And I just got to the point where I think, to be honest with you, I was a little overwhelmed, and I was like, I can't make this investment of time when I don't even know what my life is for. Like, I had to fix some things for my own direction and my own clarity. So we made the decision to stop and move things around, because The Good Life is a different project that we started running, which is going really well. But the reason we're bringing it back is because now there's a modicum of clarity and depth in what I'm building. And it's just a derivative. Like, there's no extra effort for me to record this podcast. It's already baked in. We have 20 hours of content a week that are coming out of the organization. I've got my C-suite. When I gave away the companies, dude, I gave away my C-suite.
Yeah.
Now, I'll never do that again. The loss of leverage was extreme. So I went from not having to do anything to like I have to do everything.
Yeah.
Like I have to file my own taxes and like count my money and do all of this stuff that like I don't even know how to do. Like I don't know how to hire people. I have been so disconnected, and this is the problem I think with getting fully removed is like that shit's muscle memory. And so if you get too removed for too long, you eventually sort of forget, and then certain people have to run your life. And what I did is I just gave all of that away. So that's we're taking the scenic route to answer the question.
Yeah, I love it.
But it just became a piece of complexity and complication for me that I had to put on pause. And actually, I didn't even put it on pause. I just canceled it. I had no intention of bringing it back. We weren't going to bring it back.
Yeah.
And it's just become a thing of we're doing it internally for our team, which is how most good things start. Like night school, we started it for our team.
I remember night
and
school.
then it went
That's
to other people. Like the sales meetings and the sales training, we started for our team. Then it went into sales mentor. It's like most great things actually do start for our crew, like internally. And so DMM is like we're on day 60. Like we're just about to launch to the market, but for 60 days we've been pumping it into our internal people. And now it's like let's take it back to the market because our internal crews are like, yo, this is getting me through. I'm like, okay, well the impact's there. Now we got the mission. Pump it back out.
Yeah. I think a lot of people were inspired with what you guys did at Traffic and Funnels. From the outside, it seemed like it was the business that people were chasing or were aspiring to be. Over the course of a few months, it seems like almost everything just kind of stopped and fell off the face of the map. What are some things that not necessarily you would have done differently, but is there anything that you would have changed on just kind of closing the chapter on TF?
Yes, lots of things. It was very heavily built around like a personality, which is the traditional classic guru type model. But if you actually look inside the back end of Wealthy Consultant now, it's built around faculty. So the concentration risk of TF was insane. It's like, it's basically like as soon as I stepped out, it was kind of like 3 months, 4 months, and everything was kind of like winding up. So the first thing I would have done different is brought in a CEO, like a leader that, and I think I had the right person. I think it was just the wrong timing. I would have done that early. And succession planning doesn't start when you need to look for a replacement. Succession planning starts like day one. So I've got my leader already with Wealthy Consulting. We're only a year in. You know, TF, we made it 7 years without even thinking about it. I would have stayed more involved as well. I think that the thing I was chasing was escape, because that's what I was taught. Like you get to a place where it's like, you know, I just was talking to somebody not too long ago, and they're like, "Oh, every business is going great. I don't have to do anything." Or I showed up and talked for like 20 minutes to an event. I was like, "Oh man, that's not good. That's not good." Because like, why own the business? You know, why this isn't a you're not running a multifamily apartment. Like you're running an agency.
Yeah.
Like if you don't like it, if you're not doing anything with it, you're going to lose touch with it. And so I would have stayed more involved and more engaged. The point of running a business is net impact of the world. It's romance. It's obsession. It's being something that you cannot not do. Like you have to, I can't not do this. And I didn't have that right with TF.
Do you feel like you fell out of love with that business?
I did, but it wasn't because of the business. It was because of what I thought I was supposed to do. I thought I was supposed to escape. I thought I was supposed to exit, you know, because everyone else exits.
Yeah.
But then once they exit, the funny thing is like, they're like, I'll never exit again. So it's like they exit the business and now it's like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm buying companies that I'm never going to sell for the rest of my life. Oh, got it. So you're doing the opposite of what you did the first time. And so with TWC, like I don't ever think I'll ever sell it.
Yeah.
But it's built so we could. Like I could sell equity. I could have partners that come in. We have shareholders that come in. But man, why would you stop eating? Like why would you stop exercising? Like, it's good for you.
Yeah.
Like, eat your veggies, like, do your job. And I got way too disconnected. And then the process of coming back in was whiplash. And it was like, I don't know what anybody here does. Like, I don't know any of the staff. Like, I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah. Where do you think that disconnect stemmed from?
In what regards?
I guess as you started to fall out of love with the business and started becoming more disconnect, was it just that you felt that the team had capacity, the team had the reins for it, and you could step out?
Yeah, that was part of it.
Or was there also like something like internally where you're just like, hey, I'm burnt on this, and I need some space between me and my business?
It wasn't that. It wasn't burnout. It was mostly, it's like you go through this work and you build. I didn't know what to call it then, but now we have models for it. So you have your T1, T2, T3. You've got your whole team structure. You have your org chart. You have your like everything with TF. Like, that was my first business. I had never had a business before then. First one hit like multi-8 figures, and that was actually a net negative because I didn't have to exert effort against the problem to fix it. I just like built. It's like you had like Midas touch happen. So if you take 10 years of a person's life, 3 of them are going to be amazing, like momentum everywhere, scale, scale, scale. 3 years are going to be like, 4 years are going to be average, and then 2 to 3 years are going to try to kill you. Like you have this very equal spread across like most people's lives. What happened with me is like my first 7 years were just like everything grow, and then all my problems were like clustered together at the very end of the first decade. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
So by the time we got to like year 7, my entire mode for business was just like, I'm Taylor Welch. Like, I don't know why you're struggling. Like, you must be stupid. Everything I do works. Like, there's something wrong with you. And then it's like we started tipping into that, like, okay, all your problems are now clustered together. And I was like, oh, cool, I'm about to physically die. Turns out I just had that same spread as everyone else, but my success was front loaded and my problems were back loaded. So where did the disconnect come from? I think it came from just a lack of experience, number one. It came from having leaders that were put in place that were doing a great job that I just trusted to continue on. And for the most part, a lot of leaders were great. Some of them were not, but a lot of them were great people. And you can see that by the scattering post-TF of all of the businesses that have started forming because of, like, how many sales trainers worked for me?
The majority of them.
Like, all of them except for like one.
Yeah.
Well, that's not a bad thing. Like, I used to get salty about it, but now I'm like, actually, that's kind of cool.
It's very cool.
Because like, they had enough training and enough skill that like they were drawn to me in the first place, and then they took that and they went out and they created awesome things for the marketplace. So you can tell like the rep or the quality or caliber of an organization by like the entrepreneurs that come out of that organization. We had a ton. So like there were great leaders, but I think it was a slow process of me not having the experience, not knowing what to keep tabs on. And have you ever heard that phrase like work on your business, not in your business?
Yeah, of course.
That can also kill your business, because if you're only working on the business and you never go into the business, how do you know what to work on? So there's this dance of like zoom out, zoom in, zoom out. I stayed zoomed out for too long, and then I couldn't really get back into it.
Yeah.
Hope that helps.
No, it's super helpful. Well, I guess what's kind of next for you for
Just
a wealthy
fun.
consultant? Just fun.
Nothing but fun.
Yeah. What fun thing are you excited for?
We're doing a lot of teaching. So we have the book that came out a couple months ago, which was great. We have a new book coming out in January called The Excellent Experience. It's all on client service and retention. There's, 2 ways to learn things. You can either hire a bunch of people, test it out, and get subject matter experience, or you can break every single thing in that area that you learned through doing it wrong. So with client service, I basically learned through doing everything wrong for 4 years, and now I've rebuilt it the right way. So that's about client service and retention and systems. We'll probably release 3 books next year. So the team is rolling. We have great faculty. We'll do 22 events next year. and they're a blast. So like, man, next week's gonna be phenomenal.
Local or kind of spread out all over the
Both.
place?
So we'll be in Colorado in February, Barcelona in June, London next December, and then the rest are in Nashville. But it's like, look, if I'm gonna work on and in a business, what's fun for me to do? Let's just build it around that for now. So it's like that gives you this torque and this pull and this drive. Like there's no like real rule around the business. There's just what works. And for us right now, we're doing a lot of events, a lot of fun. Our team is really good, really healthy. I love creating products that are cheap so that they're affordable for the market. Like high ticket has become this thing. Like we were one of the 3 front runners of high ticket. And back then it was novel, but now it's like, okay, what about people who don't want to spend 30 grand to work with us? What about they just want to book and it's $9?
Yeah.
I love pumping those things into the market because when you got started, you weren't paying 30 grand for something, you were buying a book, and it's just like, if you want to actually reach the entrepreneurs and the up and comers, you've got to put out products that can meet them where they're at. So I love that. We do these promos every month. And there's new products that help people with all sorts of business acumen. We have the group of businesses. I don't like using the word portfolio because now it's become like a thing, but I own a group of companies that kind of share resources. So we have the content agency, we have the sales agency. At some point we'll probably start a copy agency as well, because copywriting really is like, if there's a holy grail skill, is copy and the ability to write and influence the world through your writing. So it's just fun. Like when you get into these seasons of chaos, as long as the direction is healthy, then you can just lose yourself in the blitz and you'll have a blast and you'll pop up out of it in 6 months and you'll be like, that was fun. Let's plan the next 6 months.
Yeah.
You can't stay in the blitz for 4 years because then you lose your sense of direction. But you can pop up every 4 to 6 months. You make sure you're on pace. You ask, what am I most excited about? I'm excited about the holidays and I'm excited to blitz next year. Like I love the competition. Like I love running. And if I find somebody who's a worthy competition and they like to run, I just want to run and see who wins. Like it's not a I hate you thing. It's like, who's faster? And if you're faster, well, I'll get faster and we'll come back next year.
Yep.
It's fun.
It is. I love that. So in kind of wrapping, I always like to ask some sort of like off the cuff, kind of random question.
Let's go.
I prepared this one for you, and I was on the way over here, and I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about Mr. Beast, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Of course.
Of course. So Mr. Beast is currently undergoing some scrutiny for his last video that he did, installing 100 wells.
The wells?
Yeah, which people will find scrutiny in just about anything.
Yeah.
But as someone that follows you on Facebook, and if you follow Taylor Welch long enough on Facebook, the haters do present themselves from time to time.
Yes.
So if you were to give Mr. Beast any type of advice on dealing with the haters right now, what would it be?
You should have built 1,000. Like double down. The haters and the scrutiny sometimes tell you exactly where to double down on and where to go. I don't think Jimmy cares. I mean, Ben Hardy uses Jimmy as an example for like your future self. Jimmy's executing a playbook right now. He's probably 50 years into the future, honestly, in his head right now. I don't think he cares. But I mean, he had the advice of do it again and see if you can solicit the same rage, because that's like making you even more famous. Just do more.
Just do more of it.
Yeah.
I love it. Beautiful.
You got no haters. You have no torque.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need a few.
You got it. Yeah.
I love it. Taylor, man, thank you so much for jumping on Daily Ops Boost with us today. Appreciate your time, man. And hopefully we'll have you back on soon.
Let's go, man.
Thank you so much for watching another episode of Daily Ops Boost. We really appreciate your attention. If you're loving the podcast format that we do here, you're going to absolutely love our YouTube content. It's a little bit more long form, and we also do a live stream every single Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Time. It's called Agency Therapy. We'd love to see you there. Go check us out on YouTube.